So my name is Quintalis Hill, and I'm joined today by Justin Esquivel. You will also see a few other names in the QA that will be helping out today, Danielle Dillon, and Justin actually needed to sign in under our manager, Cheryl Tramel's account. So if you see Cheryl answer a question for you, that's really Justin. But we're coordinators with the client support team, and we're definitely excited to have you come in and join us for our discussion. Now, before we get started, I wanted to give a little history about myself and the Clearinghouse. I started in the summer of 2014 and started in the customer service team. So I started answering questions about transcript orders and the verification service. And then a year later transitioned to working for our client support department and specifically the verification services team. I love what I do, and I'm very grateful for the chance to come in and help all of your students and alumni in their pursuit of employment or whatever they need to use our service for. I take great pleasure in that. I'm happy to share tips as we go through today. So let's go over our agenda. Today we're going to discuss pending requests and also the discrepancies. We'll briefly discuss what these are, why you receive them, and how we can resolve them. After we go through our topics today, we'll have a short review of both of them, and we'll open up the floor for any questions. And if there are questions that we receive throughout the presentation, feel free, you can send them in that QA, but we'll table those to bring up for everyone to hear if we think that they could benefit the group. All right, so before we jump into everything, we wanted to go over our history. So we were initially called the National Student Loan Clearinghouse. We're founded in 1993, and we worked with the nation's colleges and universities to streamline the then time-consuming and complex enrollment reporting process for student borrowers by simplifying and automating the student record verifications. This process ensured that whenever students change colleges, they retain the deferred status in their student loans. Our mission here at the Clearinghouse is to serve the education community by facilitating the exchange and understanding of student enrollment, performance, and related information. So from our humble beginnings, we've sought to be your trusted and secure partners. We've aimed to provide innovative solutions to your challenges, and with your help, we've been provided the opportunity to represent and provide valuable services for more than 3,600 colleges and universities. Finally, we are you. We are an extension of your office, and we strive to support you in helping you meet your growing compliance, administrative, student access, accountability, and analytical needs. So we definitely are on your side. Our first topic for the webinar we want to touch on will be the pending requests. So let's review what they are. To do that, I'd like us to briefly review the way that our DegreeVerify service works. So when a request is made, our databases search for any records that match the information that your requester has provided. And if a match is found, then our system will confirm the verification and present that to the requester instantly. At that point, the requester is notified through email, and they can also see the results right there online. And they can print a PDF and keep that for their records. So those instant matches, currently they make up about 75% of the requests that are submitted through the site. And for the remaining 25%, additional research is needed before that transaction can be completed. So this is where the verification goes into a pending for research status, and we'll reach out to your school to let you know that a request needs additional research. At this point in the process, your assistance is very valuable to helping provide a timely resolution. So we typically ask for a turnaround time of about 1 to 2 business days. We do take into account that there will be times throughout the year that you'll be closed, and so you won't be able to meet that. And we do know that requests that come in over the weekend typically will be looked at and answered on the next business day. So sometimes we won't be able to meet that, and we work with requesters so that they understand that turnaround as well. The reason that we initially request 1 to 2 business days is we've found that the majority of background searches are sought to be completed within 3 business days. So if we can help in a timely manner, then your students and alumni can hopefully obtain the opportunity that they're seeking. So I wanted to set the stage for us. So for example, we have Johnny. Johnny is a former student for our school, and he's now seeking an employment opportunity. His company has begun the background check process, and right now they're at the stage where they need to verify his education. So a request has been made on the website. The matching logic has been run to see if we can instantly confirm it, but at this time, we're not able to do so, and the request needs additional research. So what I'd like us to do next is examine a few reasons to why that could happen. The most common reasons for requests to go into this pending status are spelling errors, uses of nicknames versus legal name, or incorrect dates in the date of birth, or incorrect digits provided for the Social Security number. Other scenarios that lead to requests going into a pending status are if the requester has just chosen the wrong school. It could be there's a name change that hasn't been reported, or the degree has yet to be conferred, or simply there's no degree for that individual. So now that we've covered the reasons why these requests are generated for you, let's move on to our next topic, which would be our turnaround time. And we briefly talked about this a little earlier about why it's important, but here are some things that I would like us to consider. Generally, a faster response will often lead to greater success for your students and alumni in connecting to the positions they've applied. And quick turnaround times can also help in reducing the number of calls, emails, and faxes that may be received in connection to a request that's gone through. One thing I want to communicate is we're here to help you. So if you receive communications from requesters about a degree verification request they've placed, just send them to us, and we'll be able to walk them through the process so they understand what's going on. The last bullet here mentions duplicate requests, and this is something that we've all dealt with at one time or another. More often than not, the reason for a duplicate request being submitted for a student is because that initial request hasn't been answered yet. We have made improvements throughout the years to help try to combat some of these, and I'd like us to examine some of those now. One of the improvements has been to implement a function that will check our database for any new records that have been recently added that we can use to close out any open requests. So this job runs once a day, and it checks for new records that have been submitted in response to a verification request that was pending, or any new DV files that have been uploaded for a school. So we can use that information to close out those corresponding duplicates. Another enhancement that we've implemented would be to use your response to one verification to close a duplicate at the same time. So for example, if you answer and you're confirming a degree for a student, we can use that new record you're giving to us to close any exact duplicates for the student. So one thing to note about this is the request has to be an exact match. So that means it includes the Social Security number, date of birth, name have to be exactly the same for our system to catch it as an exact duplicate and use that response to close both together. And the reason for that is a safety measure, so that way we're not providing any false positives. So again, if at any time you need assistance with a very persistent requester, just reach out to us and we'll provide some contact information, and you can route them to our team and we'll help them understand what's going on. So the next step in the process that we'll cover is how to respond to your request. And there are a few different ways that we can answer. So the first would be to confirm, yes, the student did earn a degree. We can confirm that they only have attendance. If a potential match is presented, then you can use that to answer the request. And also we can notify a requester that there's no record available at this time for that student. So we'll briefly review how to submit a degree record in the event that we confirm that your student or alumni was awarded a degree but it wasn't previously entered into our system. So for this example, what we'll do is we'll show how we can add that information. So after we select new record this is the page that will be presented to us, and here we can provide the degree details. What I'd like us to do now are highlight some of the areas that cause discrepancies for requesters. So we'll review this page. When you first pull up this page and you're responding to a request, some of these fields will be filled automatically, and those include the student's name, the birth date, the social security number if the requester was able to provide that, and also the degree title and major if that was provided as well. I do want to point out that all of these fields can be edited at this point. And the reason that I bring up the autofill is that this is a stage for us to go in and adjust and correct any mistakes from typos from the requester, so that way when we save the record and it's available for the next verification, it's correct and it matches your records exactly. There are a few fields that are mandatory when we respond with the degree, and that would be the award date, the degree title, and the major. We can see that those fields are marked with an asterisk on the page. Some of the other fields that I would highly encourage you to provide, although they're not mandatory, would be the date of birth and social, specifically those because they can increase the chance that an instant match will happen at the next time a request is made for that student, and also the dates of attendance. They're not a required field, but this is one of the fields that we do spend the most time researching. So if you have that information, by all means, we encourage you to present that as well. When it comes to the major and minors, if there are additional field majors that need to be added, you can add that by clicking the green plus icons located on the right side. And that degree title field, not just for, say, an associate or bachelor's degree, if there are certificates, technical or general diplomas that are awarded through your institution, those are acceptable titles to put in that field as well. So once we've entered all the relevant information and we've clicked next to continue on in the process, now we're given the chance to edit the record, or if we need to, we can delete and start over. Here is the point where we can actually add an additional degree. So if we click that where it says add another record, then it'll take us to the page we were just at, and we can plug in the information for the second degree for that student. So that way we can do more than one and one submission. You won't have to go out of the verification request to add the second degree for that student. No matter which option we use to answer a verification request, you'll always be given the opportunity to provide comments to a requester. This comments field is displayed to the requester and on the website. Every time they go in to view the results, they see this, and I'll show a little bit later how that information is presented. And one thing to note about the comments field, we're not able to go in and edit information retroactively. So we just ask that when you supply the information, we be mindful to not include students' full social or student ID. We don't want to present the personal information for your students. So this is just a safeguard for you. All right. If there is a case where we're doing research and we're not able to locate a degree, this comments box will be a great place to ask for additional information from the requester so we can help locate. And when we go through the discrepancy process with the requester to understand why a request was answered as unable to confirm, this is one of the first fields that we check to see if there's information that they did not provide that we can help them submit, so that way they can get the confirmation. Now that we've reviewed the process of answering verifications and how the results are given, we want to take a look at the second half of our topic, which would be discrepancies, and what we'll do throughout that process. So a discrepancy is any conflicting information between what's being supplied by your school and what the student or alumni has provided to that requester. So in some cases, these discrepancies can alter the hiring terms for students and alumni because a requester can deem that they may have misrepresented information. So this facet of the process is just as important to us as we strive to ensure that the data we have on file from your institution is accurate and it matches to your records precisely. So our main concern when presented with this is to make sure that the data we have on file is indeed correct and that we're assisting your students and alumni. So what I'd like us to do now is just check in on Johnny's verification. His requesters received confirmation of his degree, but they've noted a slight discrepancy between the major that he provided and what was confirmed in the verification results. So initially, Johnny advised his employee, potential employer, that his major was creative writing. But as we can see here, the major has been confirmed as English. So for that requester, it stands out to them, and they request that we take a look and just to confirm that the information they're receiving is indeed correct. So situations like this is what we would say warrants an additional look, and we'll start the discrepancy process. So we'll go over the more common discrepancies in a few minutes, but next I'd like us to review a couple of ways that the verification results are presented to the requester. What we're reviewing now is how the requester will see the information on the website. It's broken down into two sections. Underneath their transactional information, you can see the information you provided. This lets the requester know what they submitted. And the information verified is the information from the degree record. As you can see, we are only confirming the directory information. So next, I'd like us to view how those same degree details are provided on the PDF certificate that the requester can print. And as we can see, we've maintained the same basic separation. So the information they've provided and the information that was verified, again, is just the directory information. As we know, oftentimes we are unable to confirm a request, and I want us to take a look at how that information is displayed to a requester. So here the students indicated that they earned a degree, but the research indicates otherwise. Each request answered as unable to confirm has the same list of possible reasons for this response, and when contacted by the requester, we work with them directly to help narrow down the list. Some of the more common reasons for discrepancies will be missing or different attendance dates, the major, difference in the name that appears on the record, award dates, or the exclusion of an additional degree. Other areas that often generate discrepancies are the degree titles and honors. For example, one common discrepancy that we've seen researched a lot is claim for an economics major. We've seen it awarded as a Bachelor of Arts and then claimed as a Bachelor of Science by students from time to time. So some requesters will view that as a significant difference and will have to reach out to confirm the correct title. So what I'd like us to do now is change gears a little bit, and we'll dive into how we go about resolving the discrepancies. So after the initial report has been received, our next steps will be to look into the transaction and can see what was confirmed or what wasn't confirmed, and then we'll see who we can contact, and those contacts would be our degree research contacts with the schools. A little more detail into the steps that we'll take to make sure that when we reach out to you, we're presenting you with enough information to potentially support the claim of the student. So for those instances where there is no degree that was confirmed for a student, we ask the requester to obtain proof from the student or alumni that there was a degree. So that can be the form of a transcript, which is what we would prefer, and also or a diploma. If they're able to present some sort of documentation that shows an award date and everything, we will present that to you. And at this point in the process, what we'll do is we'll wait for your response. And once your school has given us their final report and let us know if the information that was confirmed initially was correct, or if there's a correction or an addition that needs to be made, then we'll go through and make those steps if needed. And then our final step in the process would be to communicate that information to the requester. So what we'll do is we'll review the verification again and make sure to see if we need to give them an updated certificate with the correction, or we reconfirm to them that what they received initially is indeed correct after that process has been completed. So what I'd like us to do now is check back in with Johnny. So his degree was researched through his institution, and it was confirmed that the major initially presented was correct. He did earn a major in English. As a result of the research, though, the school has notified us that there is a concentration that we can add, which is creative writing. So we're able to update our record and submit that updated information to the requester, and it benefits Johnny because it confirms that he did have a concentration in what he claimed. So everything went well with his employment offer with his potential employer. So what I'd like us to do now, before we end our discussion, is have a quick review of some of the things that we've gone over today. So one thing to keep in mind is that a quicker turnaround time can be helpful to the overall process. It can lead to lower chances of receiving duplicate requests and also lower the chance to receive communications from requesters. In the event that we do have a reported discrepancy, we're going to reach out to the contacts on your list that have a degree research role, or at least an online update role, someone who has the ability to supply the information for the service. And then we'll just ask them to confirm that the information that we have is correct, or if a correction needs to be made, give us the information, and we can do that for you if you don't have the degree online update role to add the record yourself. And again, your assistance with this process is just helping to make sure that the most accurate data is being kept on file for your students. So now I'd like us to take this time and address some questions.